Jim Kunkel here. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and set the notification bell to all so that you won't miss any of my new content.
This is more than just a rock. What if we told you this rock was an essential mineral that makes steel last much longer, helps us get from point A to point B, shelters us, and helps power our world? And this mineral impacts how we enter a room, light up a room, entertain in a room. This mineral also lets us laugh out loud or send a love letter. It helps us cross rivers, solo at Carnegie Hall, and take the last train home. A mineral that keeps us toasty on cold nights, soothes even the most delicate skin, and keeps ourselves looking, well, hot, but not too hot. But beyond our daily lives, it sustains actual life. This mineral is essential for all living things and vital to how our bodies function, especially for kids. It helps those in developing countries survive and live healthier, more productive lives, and helps plants grow and become more nutritious. Now you see, from everyday things to life itself, this mineral is profoundly essential. Because it's recyclable, this entire process is repeatable forever. It's versatile, sustainable, and durable too. Because this mineral is zinc. Zinc, essential for modern life.
What a great video. There's so much about zinc I did not know about. So that brings us to the global topic this week. It's going to be focused on zinc and how essential it is for modern life. Joining me today is Bernardo Duran from the International Zinc Association. Bernardo, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, Jim. Appreciate being here.
Oh, no problem. Hey, if you could do me a favor, if you could go through and talk about your role with the association, and then go into a little bit of detail about what the association does.
Sure. So what I'll first do is start with what our association does. And so International Zinc Association, we are the only association in the world dedicated exclusively to zinc and its users. And so how we help the market and our members is we participate in research and development, growing new markets, and supporting those existing markets. We have around 280 members around the world. And so those are made up of zinc mining and refining companies. Those are made up of other associated associations in our industry, like galvanizing associations, and then academics, governmental bodies in some cases, and then the users of zinc and the first applicators of zinc. So that would be HotDip galvanizers, thermal spray metallizers, the formulators of the zinc dust that goes into paints. So there's a lot of different impact. And then there's a lot of different projects that IZA participates in, which I'll discuss in a little bit as well. So what I do is I'm the manager of technology and market development for IZA. And so I help primarily with educating the market and supporting the market with technology transfer or knowledge transfer. So that might explain some existing technology and how it can benefit a specific application, or it could mean going into discussions of a new technology and how that might help improve what we already have. Additionally, I participate on technical committees for ASTM, SSPC, NACE, and many other organizations. And the goal there is to help with the specification documents or standardization documents with specifying metallic zinc-coated steel and some other zinc-rich paint options as well, or zinc-rich coatings options. Let me see, what else do I do? I participate in a lot of the industry events and conferences. I like giving presentations and educating the market. I think that's where I can make my greatest impact, is interacting with people interested in learning more about zinc and its uses.
Very good, very good. So, Bernardo, the International Zinc Association plays a very important role in the global protective coatings industry. And, many watching this episode really don't know about the health benefits related to the wellness of human life when it comes to zinc. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yes. So zinc is an essential micronutrient, and it serves numerous physiological functions. That means it can impact the metabolic functions, respiratory, epithelium, the GI tract, immune and nervous systems. And even about 60 years ago, studies were showing that insufficient zinc in the diet could affect the healthy growth and development of children. So let me give you one example of how IZA is helping with that. We have a program called Zinc Saves Kids, and we are working with UNICEF, and the goal is to increase the zinc supplementation for kids specifically under 5 and below, but it could be older as well. But there is around a third of the population in the world is undernourished in zinc. And so that's one of our programs to help with increasing its consumption. And the reason why it's so important is zinc helps with the immune and other systems. And so it can help with things like, it can help fight infections like pneumonia, diarrhea, malaria. Additionally, we have something called the Zinc Nutrient Initiative. And this is a program that was launched to address the zinc deficiency in crops and nutrition. And it helps with fortifying the soil, which then helps the crops that are grown in that soil. And so this adds this adds to the crop yields and boosts nutritional value in the soil, and then ultimately in humans who eat those foods that come from that soil.
Very interesting. And so let's, pivoting back to the global protective coatings industry, how much of the global coatings market relies on zinc when it comes to protecting steel from corrosion?
Sure, that's a great question. So about 60% of the zinc consumption goes toward protecting steel from corrosion. But surprisingly, only around 6% of the steel in use globally has a protective zinc coating. So much of our business is involved with corrosion in some way, but there's a lot of opportunities still to protect a lot of other steels that aren't currently protected. And this is going into market development and how we're trying to impact those numbers. And we'll get into that in just a little bit.
Oh, very good, very good. So, Bernardo, you have a long background related to working in around zinc in the protective coatings, industry. For those watching this episode who are new to the coatings industry, how does zinc in coatings, how does it protect steel?
Sure, that's another fantastic question. So first, zinc coatings, whether metallic or some other zinc-rich option like a zinc-rich coating, it acts as a barrier. And what that means is it prevents interaction of that base or underlying steel with the environment. And in so doing, it can prevent those corrosive elements from attacking the steel. Additionally, metallic zinc coatings offer what is called passive cathodic protection. And this is a principle where you have if you have two metals in contact and they're different, so let's say zinc and the iron or the steel, okay? The more anodic of those will sacrificially corrode when you're in the presence of an electrolyte and you have an electrical connection between the two metals. So that's exactly what we have. We coat a piece of steel with a metallic zinc coating, and then if there is an abrasion or some other impact that goes all the way through that zinc coating to the base steel, now we have that zinc sacrificially corroding to protect that nick or that scratch. And so how much does it protect, or what's the width? It could be up to about 5 millimeters in some environments. If an environment is very conductive, let's say there's a lot of chlorides in the air, you typically have wider corrosion from that zinc. And the other way metallic zinc coatings help is something with the development of what's called the protective zinc patina. So let's say that we've put a zinc coating, metallic zinc coating onto a piece of steel. What's going to happen is that zinc is going to begin reacting with the environment. So the first couple of days, what that means, it's going to react with the oxygen in the air to create zinc oxide. And then over, let's say 2 days and maybe up to 6 months and a little bit longer, it's going to react with moisture in the air to create zinc hydroxide. Okay, from there, we have additional reactions with the carbon dioxide in the air to create zinc carbonate. And that zinc carbonate, also known as zinc patina, is what gives metallic zinc coated steel the long life it's known for. It has a very low corrosion rate. How low? Well, it could be 1/30th to even 1/200th the rate of base steel in many environments, or some environments. It's typical to have a coating even as thin as, let's say, a typical sheet of paper, let's say 3 to 4 mils thick. And that thickness of coating can provide easily 30, 40 or more years of corrosion protection in many environments. So that's kind of the basics of how zinc protects steel. There's a lot more science that goes into it, but for somebody new to the industry, I think that's a pretty good idea of how it works.
Well, zinc is so important in liquid coatings, but it's also the foundation of HotDip galvanizing. Your professional background is in HotDip galvanizing. In your opinion, what does the current global market for HotDip galvanizing look like?
Sure. So I participate or work primarily in North America and Latin America, but I'll kind of try to give some highlights too around the world. So we've seen in the last few decades here in North America that metallic zinc coated steel is increasing in its use. In some areas like Europe, it's already well established and it's frequently specified and used throughout many European countries. And many of the growing economies, such as Latin America, India, and even sub-Saharan Africa, these are areas where they are increasing the use of zinc-coated steel, specifically hot-dip galvanizing too. Here in North America, back in around 2009, so we're talking maybe a decade back from the time of this recording, the Federal Highway Administration started looking at studies or conducting studies rather, to increase the life of protective coatings on their structures to 100 years and beyond. And so hot dip galvanizing and other metallic zinc coated steel options, those fit perfectly within that because they can provide that kind of corrosion protection. And especially right now with DOTs pushing to reduce their maintenance budgets, this has been fantastic for hot dip galvanizing and related markets because that's exactly what zinc coated steel can do. It can provide the initial corrosion protection, but then it provides maintenance-free corrosion protection for a very long time. And so for constrained budgets, that's a perfect fit for galvanizing and other options. Additionally, IZA has worked with the American Galvanizers Association and the American Institute of Steel, and AISI, excuse me. And so one of those projects is to convert wood and concrete utility poles to galvanized poles. So there's a lot of activity and there's a lot of interest in our business, the last few years especially, but this has been going on for the last couple of decades. So, from here on, I see this interest and specification of hot dip galvanizing to continue to grow.
So, over the last decade, many industries have been turning to thermal spray or metallizing, as some call it in the industry. Mm-hmm. How important of a role does zinc play when it comes to metallizing?
Sure. So it also plays a critical role. And to kind of provide maybe a little bit of context for this, I'll briefly go into a little bit of discussion about the thermal spray process. So for any type of industrial coating, what we typically do is we have to clean the steel first. And so that often entails an abrasive blast, okay? So we would abrasive blast the steel. That removes the contaminants and the oxides, and then it also applies a surface profile, which is necessary for a thermal spray or metallized coating to adhere to the steel. So the metallizing process, we take some kind of feedstock, and that's just a fancy way of saying zinc powder or zinc wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that through an application gun. And there's a couple different types of guns, whether a flame spray or arc spray, but the goal is the same. we're melting the zinc and then we're propelling that melted zinc onto that cleaned steel surface. And so what we have is a deposition of the zinc particles, and they splat onto the surface. That's a technical term that we use. And so in doing so, they kind of lock into one another. These little particles splatting on the surface, locking in. It's called a laminar formation. And so that helps with the adhesion to that base steel. And so an applicator, by going multiple passes over the same area, they can build that zinc thickness. And so therefore the specifiers have a lot of options. They could go with a thinner zinc coating, let's say in the 3 to 6 mil range, if they're going to put a sealer or other top coats on top of it. Or they could do just a plain zinc or alloy coating, and they might specify more in the range of 12 to 15 mils. Now, of course, that depends on the type of environment the structure is located in, and it depends on how long the specifier is expecting that product to last. So, but let me step back a little bit for the market for metallizing. We talked a little bit about the market for hot dip galvanizing. So what's fantastic is there's a new option to go with a galvanizing and metallizing hybrid. And so for typically anything that will fit into a galvanizing bath, that's the most cost-effective option for metallic zinc coating. So you would choose that first. But there are many items that are too large to fit into a galvanizing bath. And that's where thermal spray metallizing comes in. It serves as a fantastic approach to have an all metallic zinc solution. In addition to just pure zinc options, in some very high chloride environments, zinc aluminum alloys are specified, and these help with preventing that really corrosive attack from the chlorides. So here in the US and actually around the world too, we're growing into a few different markets for thermal spray. So this has been going on for some time with offshore wind turbines, and we're also getting into maritime and other marine applications. And of course, we've already talked about those items that are maybe too large to fit in the galvanizing bath. Some components related to bridge girders that are very, very large. And so there's a lot of different areas that thermal spray is growing into as well.
Wow, it's absolutely amazing just to learn about that. So, Bernardo, we covered so much about zinc and how it's essential for modern life. In closing out our conversation in this episode, is there anything that we did not cover that you would want to leave with the audience?
I would say, I would encourage the audience members who are interested to visit our website, International Zinc Association's website at zinc.org. Our communications team has done a fantastic job of creating a very interesting and informative website. We go into a lot of things like sustainability, but the varied uses of zinc. And it's even having been in this industry for, I don't know, a decade and a half or so, it's amazing how often and in so many applications I see zinc used. And so that might mean going, driving down the highway and seeing the guardrail or the high mast illumination poles, but it's also in things like zinc fasteners, zinc batteries, zinc die casts. And so these types of options are something I would have never thought about before. I learned about those on our website. And so I would encourage anyone who's interested to visit the website. You'll learn a ton. It's some very interesting things too on there.
That sounds great. And for everyone watching, I will have the website address that Bernardo had mentioned, so you can get additional information and learn more about zinc. Like I said, it's just absolutely outstanding to know what benefits there are with zinc and what advantages there are with zinc. Bernardo, I thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's been fantastic for me as well.
Hey, have a great day.
You too.